So, of course, we begin the first weekend of Lent with the option of what to speak about for the next couple weeks. Because usually during the seasons of Advent and Lent, I'll do a series of homilies or sermons on a particular subject or some part of what we're celebrating. And so, this year during Lent, we're going to spend our time looking at the Stations of the Cross in particular. It is a very old devotion. It has been practiced in churches in the western part of the world for 1,000 years now. One of the biggest early supporters of the Stations of the Cross was St. Francis of Assisi. So, but even so, this is a devotion that's been practiced since the beginning of the church. We know for a fact, for instance, that after the death and resurrection, the Blessed Virgin Mary and St. John would walk the streets and stop at these places where these moments happened because they were there. They were eyewitnesses of all these things. And so they would honor this by going and stopping and praying at these various spots where these things occurred. That was one of the first reasons for pilgrimages to the Holy Land, was to visit those spots at which the Stations of the Cross took place. Because again, the birth of Christ is outside of Jerusalem quite a ways, Bethlehem. People would travel to Jerusalem to visit the spots where these things took place. And the church knew because, again, the early church learned from Mary and John, and they practiced this for centuries and centuries. And so it is a very old devotion. And it's not regulated to only Lent, also keep that in mind. We can't just limit it to practicing it during Lent. We can practice it all year round, but during Lent, it's emphasized in a particular way. And so, in order to kind of split it up, we'll do a couple stations a week because, again, to do all 14 today, we'd be here for a little while, but then we'd have nothing else to talk about for the rest of Lent. So, it'd be kind of boring. So, we're going to look at how the stations connect to the gospel in particular for today, the first two stations. And how many times we walk into a church and don't even notice the Stations of the Cross? We're so used to them being there. Whenever I watch a movie or a TV show, there's two things I look for when they show a church to tell me what kind of church it is: the red lamp next to the tabernacle, the Stations of the Cross on the wall. Because if those are there, that means it's a Catholic church. If those are missing, it is not a Catholic church. It's really that simple. That's the easiest way to tell the difference. Protestant churches don't have those or that. Anglican churches generally don't have Stations of the Cross either. So that's what I always look for. My eyes drawn to those things. But like I said, we get used to them, so we don't even notice them hardly anymore. And that's a shame because it is such a serious thing. And again, you think about the fact that the way of the cross, this is the reason Lent exists. Lent is meant to celebrate the passion of Christ. The resurrection happens because Christ dies. Christ dies because his passion. And so Lent is meant to lead up to that. And this is the whole entire reason why Christ came, is to suffer and die and then rise again. But it's a key part of that suffering and death, obviously. And so we look at the gospel today in particular. We have the devil coming to Jesus with these temptations. And this is interesting too, again, to remember. The devil does not know the mind or heart of God. So the devil does not know that Jesus is actually the Son of God. That's why he uses this taunting kind of temptation. If you are the Son of God, you'll do this. If you are the Son of God, then you'll do this. He's trying to trick him in his own way into proving who he really is, because the devil doesn't know for certain. The devil's knowledge is limited. But what he's trying to do, he's trying to figure out if this really is this Son of God, then I have to formulate a different plan of battle. He knows he'd have to go about attacking things in a different way. So he's trying to tempt Christ into working miracles that look like good things on the outside in order to get him to prove who he is. That way he can then use this knowledge for what he's going to do next. So he says, if you are, not since you are, if you are. He doesn't know for certain. And so he tempts Christ with a couple of interesting things. One of the main things he's using over and over and over again is power. If you are the Son of God, you can turn these stones into bread. If you are the Son of God, throw yourself off the temple. Angels will save you. Power. If you are the Son of God, he shows them all the kingdoms of the world. At that time, shows them all the kingdoms of the world. I'll give you all of these. Shows them in their magnificence on top of that. Not the ugliness and the brutality and the sinfulness and the dirtiness and the uncleanliness. He shows them only the shiny, beautiful parts. The magnificence, it says, showed him all the kingdoms of the world in their magnificence. The gold and silver and rainbows and lollipops and shiny things. I can give you all these. I can give you real, tangible, earthly power, the devil says. I can give you power on this earth because that's what people want, power. This ties in directly to the first station of the cross. Jesus is condemned to death before Pilate. What is Pilate's big club that he wields during this confrontation with Christ? You don't answer me? Don't you know I have the power to put you to death or let you go free? Pilate has power, real earthly power. He can kill hundreds of people without batting an eye. He can let them live too, if he wants. Earthly power is a terrifying thing. It can inflict one of the worst punishments we know, and that's death. It can't ever fully prevent it, but it can inflict it on people easily. But power is what it's about, and the devil uses this. Pilate also is given into this temptation, and he tries to use his power to force Jesus to do what he wants. He asks him a question. You don't answer me? You're not going to answer me? Don't you know how powerful I am here? I can have you crucified. That's how powerful I am. Who do you think you are? Same temptation that the devil used against Christ. I have the power to give you all these things. All you have to do is what I tell you to do. That's all you got to do. The devil says all you have to do is worship me. He shows him all these kingdoms. All these kingdoms already are. All you have to do is do what they're doing, and I'll give you all this power. Pilate says all you have to do is answer my questions the way I want them answered, and I have the power to let you live. Power is a dangerous thing. And the devil knows how much we desire it. That's why he uses it as a temptation. And so Pilate has all this power. And what does he do with it? He becomes corrupted by it. Because we know that when Christ doesn't respond the way Pilate wants, what does he do? Sends him to Herod. Herod's an actual king, a governor, so to speak, king of the Jews. Herod also has power and says, work a miracle. Show me. And if he had done that, if Christ had done that, you can bet Herod wouldn't have sent him back to Pilate. But Christ would not. So Herod sends him back. And this is interesting. Christ has already been condemned by his own people. The leaders of his people have already decided they don't want him to live. So in their power, they arrest him. In their power, they turn him over to Pilate. Because they know that Pilate, the pagan, has the power to put him to death, too, on top of that. This is the ultimate goal. Herod sends him back to Pilate. Do with him whatever you want. You have the power to choose. And so Pilate has the power to let him go or not. And what does Pilate do? Pilate has him scourged almost to death. Keep that in mind. Christ is beaten literally almost to death in that scourging at the pillar. Then he's crowned with thorns, and then he's paraded in front of the mob. That's just what you want judging your cause, right? The mob. The violent, hateful, spite-filled mob, as mobs usually are. This is who Christ is judged by. This is what earthly power does. Who do you want? Pilate says, I'll give you this one who says he's a king, but look what I can do to him. I'll give you Barabbas. And that's the one problem I have with the movie The Passion of the Christ is the portrayal of Barabbas as this kind of insane person. Barabbas was not crazy. Barabbas was probably possessed by the devil, yeah. But Barabbas knew exactly what he was doing. He was a revolutionary. He was a hero to a lot of these people. Barabbas had killed Roman soldiers. That takes some skill. And so this is who Pilate parades out. Or do you want this guy? This guy has power. He's used that power. He's killed. Who would you rather have? The one who kills or the one who's going to be killed? And the mob decides who they want. We know what they decide. They want Barabbas. They want power. And so then Christ is in that second station, following this moment, given a cross to carry. And that's something to stop and think about. That is not his cross. That is ours. That he was just. He never committed a sin, never desired an evil thing in his entire being, in his existence. So it's me whose place he's taking in front of Pilate. I'm the one that should be judged for the way that I have used what God gave me. I'm the one who deserves to carry the cross because my mistakes have made it. My desires, my sins have created that. And Christ stands in my place. All of his public life, all 33 years of his life, was to bring himself to this moment when this begins. This was the goal. This is why he came down here, to take our place in front of an unjust earthly ruler who, like Satan, wants to throw around their power and say, this is what I can do to you. And Christ takes that on himself. Why? What has he done to deserve it? Nothing. But he does it because his love is so great. And his love is so perfect and so deep and so strong for us that that's why he stands there in my place. I'm the one who's given into that temptation for power. Satan uses that temptation over and over with Christ. Oh, you're hungry. Well, use your power to get some bread. As long as you're comfortable, get what you want. Take advantage of the situation. Fulfill your own desires. You're hungry. Make bread. Nothing wrong with bread. The problem here is that it's doing what Satan wants, is the problem. This is why Christ refuses to do it, even though in his body he is hungry. He will not do it because this is what Satan wants to happen. So he goes hungry, Christ. And imagine being up there, looking at all these kingdoms of the world, at the sinfulness of us and of all mankind from the beginning to the end, and knowing that you're about to suffer and be condemned and be scourged and be beaten and be rejected for so many people who do not care. That's one of the biggest things of that first station. Christ is standing there alone. He's picking up his cross alone. And he does all this for us. And what does he say in response? When things are bad for us, he says, do not be afraid. I've overcome the world. Says, you want to be my follower? Take up a cross and follow me. I've already carried the big one. And so as Lent goes on, it's good for us to put some extra time into meditating on these stations. Remember, we have them every Friday at one of the parishes. But to really grow in that devotion, because again, in that we see this absolute, complete, total, and perfect love of Christ that at every station, that should be our face there. But it's his, because his love is so great.